Hey everyone, this is Dean with DCA Crypto. I have a bull run video for you guys. I'm going to cover with you guys where I think we're at in this current cycle, what's going to happen at the halving, after the halving, towards the end of this year, and into 2025, when I think the peak of the bull run could be, and possible price predictions for Bitcoin in the peak of the bull run. I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel, smash that like button, and let's jump into it. Alright guys, so we're going to cover some things in this video to let you know what's going on with the crypto cycle in general with Bitcoin, what I think Bitcoin could possibly get up to in this upcoming bull run towards the peak, and what dates I think the bull run could peak out in the next year here. So I want to show you some charts that are kind of predicting that, triggers in the bull run and where we're at right now as far as the cycle. Are we currently in the main bull run? Has the bull run started? Are we going to get a big correction in the coming months with the halving coming up here? I'm going to show you when the halving is exactly expected to happen and what we should expect because of that. So I want to jump into some different things here. So let's jump into the price target here first. So currently at almost $1.9 trillion. We're almost up to 2 trillion. And Bitcoin almost up to 48,000 again. Ethereum up to 2,500. Now, a lot of these coins have come up quite a bit in price, especially Solana, and Avalanche has come up quite a bit. So Cardano's come up a little bit, maybe a 2x on Cardano, not too much. Chainlink here's had a little bit of an increase, but overall, these coins, they've come up in price, but they've got a long ways to go for this upcoming bull run. So it's not a terrible thing to start. If you're trying to get your bags packed for this bull run, you're kind of late to the game as far as missing out on the rock bottom prices. Those are gone and they're not going to happen again. The prices that happened in these coins, unless something very devastating happens, are likely completely gone, and you're going to have to deal with the prices we've got now. Now you're still going to get some really good gains out of here, and I'll show you what you can do with that in these upcoming months before we get into 2025 and how to get the most bang for your buck out of these cryptos. So we'll jump into this post here on X. So this chart here kind of predicts like the Bitcoin the peak of the bull run here. This one's saying, after this target here, we've got about 600 days until the peak of the bull run, which should put it around the October of 2025 hitting the peak. So they're basically saying here that we've got about 600 more days left of this bull run. So we have a lot of time. So if you're looking to get into crypto and make massive gains out of it, you're not too late. A lot of people didn't even get in until 2021, last bull cycle, and they still made really good gains in crypto in 2021. So if you're getting in now, you're much earlier than that as far as this bull run. Yeah, prices have come up a lot, but there's still a lot of gains to be made in this upcoming bull run here. So this chart here kind of predicts the cycles and how they pretty much follow the same thing almost every time with these Bitcoin cycles. And right now, it's saying that the peak of the bull run is this red mark, and then this November 28th here kind of predicts the bottom of the market. And it's saying we've come down here to November 28th of 2024. And then the peak of the next bull run will be around November 28th of 2028, approximately. So one's predicting October, this one's predicting November 28th, and it's kind of predicting here, that we've hit this yellow zone here, which is the fourth point, and then down here we'll hit November 2028 after the halving this year, and then it's saying that the peak should be somewhere in here in 2025. And I don't know if that's before November 2028 to 2025 or shortly or right at November 2028. But it's predicting it somewhere towards the end of 2025 would be the peak of this next bull run. This article here talks about how the halving impacts the price of Bitcoin. As you guys know, the halving basically takes Bitcoin's blocks and it creates a certain amount of Bitcoin per block. And every 4 years, the halving, they call it, cuts that amount of Bitcoin produced in half by the miners. So it'll be reduced in half. And basically the first halving, the price of Bitcoin was at $13, and this was in 2012. And then the following year's peak was $1,152. So pretty much like, 100x from the price of the halving here. Halving number 2 in 2016, price of the halving was $664, and then the following year's peak was $17,760. So it had a significant increase there. And then the halving in 2020, basically the price of the halving was $9,734, and the following year's peak was $67,549. So, give or take, depending on what exchange you were trading it on. So that's pretty much a 7x from the price of the Bitcoin at the halving last time around. This time around, they're kind of predicting that Bitcoin could do around a 3x from the price of the halving. So if we look at this chart here, this says that the halving should be around 11 p.m. or so, April 18th. Now, this could get pushed out to the morning of the 19th. It's just approximate based on the current hash marks of the Bitcoin mining. So 67 days away approximately. There's just over 10,000 blocks remaining. And then it has Bitcoin's price live on here as well. So somewhere around, the middle of April. So, we're about 2 months away from the halving here. Back in this article here, it talks about how CoinDex sees Bitcoin peak above $170,000 in August of 2025 before a retracement down to around 100,000. Bitquant believes there will be a new all-time high somewhere during the pre-halving rally, with a post-halving peak seeing prices over 250,000. So will Bitcoin get above 67, 69,000 before the halving? Maybe. I don't think that's too likely, but it is possible depending on what happens. And then CryptoCon sees a new high of around 130,000 about 4 years after the previous high. So that'll put us around November 2025. They think it could get around 130,000. And then Marshall Beard of Gemini threw out the $100,000 price figure, given that BTC reaches its previous high of 69,000. So they got all different price predictions here on what Bitcoin could do. It's probably somewhere in the middle. There's different theories out there on what Bitcoin's going to do as far as its price target, but it really doesn't matter how high Bitcoin gets, whether it gets to 89,000, 100,000, 130,000, 170,000, really doesn't matter. The peak's probably going to be somewhere in mid to late 2025, and the main thing is we got a lot of time before then, so you still have a lot of time to accumulate crypto at these lower prices before we get into the main bull run. Typically in the past, we've gotten a dip after the halving. Now, whether we get one or not this time around because the Bitcoin ETFs is yet to be seen. Some of them, analysts, are predicting that we won't get that dip like we usually do in crypto after the halving because of the ETFs. So if we don't, it's not a big deal. But if we do get that dip, and it's pretty much just like a gift to go, to add more crypto to your portfolio at lower prices before we take off into that main bull run. Now, we're technically in a bull run right now, when we have been since last year, because after we got to the bottom around 15,000 with Bitcoin, we've pretty much been in like a bull run, the mini bull run. But the main bull run is going to be typically later on the end of this year and into 2025. We may get another double top like we did last cycle, where we come up to like 89,000 or 79,000. And then we crash back down to 50,000, and then we take off to 100,000. It's really hard to say what's going to happen, but that's why it's important to take out profits on the way out. But as far as these altcoins, if you're accumulating now or if you've been accumulating them, when we get some price action in the upcoming months here and they start pumping pretty hard, it's a good thing to take out your profits on some of those bigger altcoins, like your Solanas, your Avalanches, your Chainlinks, and those. And take your profits out, even ICP, take your profits out, and then, typically we'll get some kind of correction, and that's when you can reinvest them. You can always reinvest them into some of the projects that are smaller cap that haven't really taken off yet, because there are going to be different waves that these coins are going to be moving. They're not all going to be moving at once. So if you get a really big pump in some of these coins, like you did with Solana, where it got up to $125, it's always a good thing to take off some of your profits, whether it's 10%, 25%, 50%, and hold on to that. And then we get a correction, move that into some of these coins, even if it's a little correction, like we had Bitcoin go from 48,000 down to 40,000, and you saw alts, some of these alts bleed quite a bit. You can move it into these coins that haven't really moved yet, and then when they take off later on, that's when you get the double and triple multipliers on them and get more bang for your buck, because the ones that have already pumped a lot, they're sure they're likely to take off even higher in the peak of the bull run, but they've already made quite a bit of gains. So you can kind of move that money around after something pumps. You can move it into a solid project, not something too risky and that hasn't taken off yet. And then when it takes off, you take out your profits on that. That's kind of how a lot of people who have been in crypto for a long time play that game. A lot of people move first, they'll put their funds into Bitcoin, and then when Bitcoin moves up, then they cash out and they move it into like Ethereum and some of the other alts, and then when those take off, they'll take their profits out. And it's easier said than done. You really have to be careful about how you do that so you don't get burned. But there are cryptos out there that haven't moved a lot yet that will still move typically. But just make sure you're taking out some profits on the way up and then not holding on tight and waiting for that peak price that you think that the coin is going to hit, because it may or may not reach your potential price targets. You got to be careful with that. The other thing you can do if you don't feel comfortable buying some of these coins that have already pumped a lot, what you can do is you could definitely add some of those bigger ones to your portfolio that are safer. Your Solanas and Chainlinks and Cardanos and your ADA, and some of those other big caps, and you can have those in your portfolio, your Ethereum, your Bitcoins, and all those. If you don't want to do that, I also have the free Telegram. The link is in the description below for that as well, and the pinned comment, so you can get into my free Telegram group, which is an awesome group, and they're always finding different crypto gems out there to invest in. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover for this video, guys. I'm looking forward to the halving and what's going to be coming up in the months after the halving. Hopefully we get one more dip. Maybe some people don't want that, but a lot of us are waiting for one more nice dip to get our bags packed even heavier for this upcoming bull run. If it happens, fantastic. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But either way, I've got a good portfolio built up for this bull run. If you need help with that, just hit me up and I can try to help you out with that as well. But I appreciate all of you guys, and we'll see you on the next video.